story time about how my best friend and I used to get away with hanging out with boys. So my friend and I's parents were really strict, which meant no hanging out with boys, not even if a parent was there. And we would always come up with these elaborate lies to do stuff that we weren't allowed to do. And we were in high school, so we really wanted to go hang out with one of our guy friends. So we came up with this plan where we would tell them that we were going to a football game because it was a Friday, and that an Uber was coming to pick us up. And there really was no Uber, it was actually just our guy friend coming to pick us up. But since my dad didn't let me go in Ubers, we had to go to my best friend's house. And her parents were fine with it because they loved me and thought that I was the most perfect child on earth. So we get in our Uber and we just go to his house and hang out the whole time. I literally don't even know how we got away with this because it was the same exact car every time and the same exact Uber driver every time. Toxic best friend story time. And no, this is not the same one. I know I have bad choice in best friends. Do not come at me. So a few summers ago, I was single and I was talking to two boys. One that I had been talking to for months, but I didn't know if he liked me because I kind of got more of best friend vibes. And the other one I was talking to for not that long, but he was kind of a douche. So, who did I tell about these two boys? No other than my best friend. Well, this girl took it upon herself to text the guy that I was talking to for months and say, "You're just her backup plan." And she was the type of girl that would talk shit on other girls to guys that they liked to get the guy's attention. So he told me that she said that, and I confronted her about it. She goes, "I just don't think it was right you were doing that to him." Meanwhile, she was talking to this boy that she really liked, but fucking other people. We were not able to bounce back after that. Story time about how I woke up to my best friend having a seizure. A little background information. So my close friend invited me over to his house to spend the night. And we're gonna call him Jay. Well, Jay and I got to his house, and his parents are really strict, so he had to sneak me in. So he told me to wait by the garage. And as soon as he opens the front door to his house, I hear his parents screaming. So he's inside fighting with his parents, I'm outside freezing my ass off. So an hour later, he comes out to get me, walks me through the garage, and I have to hide in this crawl space. So while I'm hiding in this crawl space, him and his parents are still arguing. And his parents walk past where I was like 5 times. So his mom gets in the car and leaves. She said she was going to kill herself. His dad comes into the garage, starts crying. I literally witnessed him have a mental fucking breakdown. Then his mom came back, said that she hated everybody. So then Jay purposely bangs his head off of the kitchen table 2 times. So when he came into the garage to get me, he had an ice pack on his head. Then we snuck up to his room like for part 2. Part 2. So like I said, he rushes me up to his room because his dad was in the basement and his mom left again, threatening to kill herself again. And while we're upstairs, he starts taking dabs. And we're up for a little bit and then we go to sleep. So at like 8 in the morning, we both wake up. He's on his phone, I'm on my phone. We're not facing each other. And then all of a sudden, I feel the bed start to shake like a lot. So I turn over and this kid is having a full-blown fucking seizure. Like he's foaming at the mouth. His eyes are literally rolling in the back of his fucking head. So I get up and roll him over onto his side because I didn't want him to start choking. And I'm fucking freaking out and don't know what to do because I wasn't even supposed to be there in the first place. And he's like making all these types of noises. So I go and I run down the hallway. I try to find his parents' room. And I open the door and have to wake them up dead out of their sleep. And I was like, your son's having a seizure. So his mom runs over to the room. And his dad's like, well, who the fuck are you? And why the fuck are you in my house? And I was like, your son told me that I could stay the night last night. Oh, like for part 3. Part 3. So like I said, his dad's like interrogating me right now. So they call an ambulance. His son leaves in the ambulance. They didn't go with him. And his dad's like, you're never allowed in this fucking house again. And then he asked me, did he take anything last night? And I'm like, he did dabs, but like, I didn't do anything because I don't do that stuff. So he goes over to where all of his dab stuff is and starts throwing the glass pieces in the garbage, making sure that he fucking breaks them all. And his mom comes over to me to comfort me because I'm literally like fucking crying because this kid almost died right next to me. And she's like, it's okay, sweetie, like this happens to him a lot. But I felt so uncomfortable because he was like making it seem like it was my fault. So I hurry up and call my mom, and my mom doesn't get there till like 30 minutes because their house is a little bit further away. And for all of you wondering what happened to him, I don't know because this happened this morning. Story time. My boyfriend found out that his best friend got me pregnant. It was my junior year in high school, and my boyfriend and I had been dating for 4 months. Well, the one night his friend, and I were all supposed to go to this party. My boyfriend ended up getting called into work that night, so his friend and I went. Which my boyfriend was fine with because he wanted his best friend to keep an eye on me, but he also trusted us. Anyway, so his friend and I ended up going to the party, and then but the next morning I woke up, I didn't remember that at all. So fast forward, I find out that I'm pregnant. Well, me forgetting that I totally cheated on my boyfriend, I thought that it was his. Well, a week later, I get a text from his friend. And he's like, oh my god, what are we gonna do? And I'm like, what do you mean, what are we gonna do? So then he filled me in on the whole situation that I didn't remember. But I was like, there's really no chance of this because my boyfriend and I fucked like a million times and me and you fucked once. The real tea is that my boyfriend was black and his friend was white. Well, me being the ass bitch that I am, I was like, well, let's just wait it out. I bet it's not his. Like for part 2. Part 2 about how my boyfriend found out that his best friend got me pregnant. So like I said, my boyfriend was black, his best friend was white, and because I doubted that it was his best friend's kid, I decided to wait it out. Say it with me, bad idea. So fast forward, I'm in the delivery room and I decide not to have my boyfriend in there. Well, let's just say good thing that he did. Bitch, whenever this thing popped out, it was white as fucking paper. So I was like to the doctor, oh my gosh, like I'm gonna have a panic attack. Please get the baby out of the room. I don't want anybody around the baby right now. So when my boyfriend came back in the room, I was like, oh, we can't see the baby. He's having some issues. He's over here freaking out. I'm having a fucking panic attack about what I'm gonna do. And they brought my kid back and I was like, that's not my kid. And this girl looked so confused. She was like, oh, okay. And my boyfriend and I are laughing. We're like, oh, haha, that's funny. Then she comes back into the room and she's like, ma'am, this is your kid. So my boyfriend started screaming and he broke up with me after that. Like, how rude to just leave me with a kid by myself. No, I'm just joking. I know that was pretty fucked.
I'm going to be telling you the scary story of the exorcism of Roland Doe. It all started when Roland and his grandmother would hear scratching coming from the floorboards of the grandmother's room. They called an exterminator the next morning and they couldn't find anything that was causing the scratching. The weird part about the scratching is it would start every single night at exactly 7 p.m. and end at exactly midnight. The noise eventually moved from the grandmother's room to Roland's room. Roland started to hear someone every single night walk from one side of his bedroom to the next. Roland's mom was convinced that this might be their Aunt Helen. Helen had recently passed away and was really close to Roland. It made perfect sense if she was the spirit of the house. Later we would learn that Roland would always use an Ouija board in order to get in contact with his Aunt Helen. One night, Roland's mom asked the spirit that was walking back and forth in Roland's room if it was Helen. She told the spirit to knock 3 times if it was Helen. 3 massive gusts of wind went over them and knocked 3 times behind their heads. Stay tuned for part 2. This is part 2 of the exorcism of Roland Doe. One night when the spirit was walking back and forth in Roland's room, the mom decided to ask if it was their Aunt Helen. She asked the spirit to knock 3 times if it was Helen. 3 massive gusts of wind went over their heads and knocked 3 times on the wall behind them. She then asked the spirit to knock 4 times if it was Helen. Again, 4 gusts of wind went over their heads and knocked 4 times on the wall behind them. The family was convinced the spirit was just Helen, until something started to scratch inside of Roland's mattress. They could physically feel something inside the mattress. And all of a sudden, just like that, the mattress started to shake and shake and shake. Vases started to fly across the room. One day, Roland was sitting in an armchair and it literally flew up into the air, threw him out of the chair, and flew backwards. The armchair was physically too heavy for Roland to even pick up. There was something else controlling him. Stay tuned for part 3. This is part 3 of the exorcism of Roland Doe. After everything that was going on, the family knew that Roland was actually being controlled by something inside of his body. They knew it was demonic. When Roland would actually get sleep at night, he would talk in his sleep a lot. But it wasn't talking in his sleep like you would normally expect from a person. He was speaking full Latin. Roland didn't even know Latin. The Doe family decided to finally take him to a Lutheran minister. The minister thought it would be best for Roland and his mom to come spend the night at his house. At about 3 in the morning, Roland and his blankets were on the floor and going underneath the twin bed. Roland's body started to shake viciously up and down, hitting the springs under the bed. But Roland didn't even wake up. The minister told the Doe family that there was nothing he could do and they needed to go see a Catholic priest. Roland started to develop long, bloody scratch marks all over his body every single night. But the weird thing was, every single morning when he would wake up, the scratches would just be gone. Stay tuned for part 4.